Hello, friends. It's Aunt Nikki of Your Story Hour, and it's time to read another chapter in How's Inky by Sam Campbell. Let's see what this porcupine's been up to. Chapter 3 Individuality with Feathers and Fur and Skin on It. Mornings always were attended by the wildest scenes in our orphanage. All were hungry at once, all demanding attention. Bobette would be bleeding, Raccoon crying incessantly, seeming never to stop long enough to breathe. Sausage would be squeaking, and Inky grunting. The effect was something like that of a machine shop badly in need of oil. The louder they yelled, the more ferociously we rushed about, trying to meet their demands. It is hard to believe that 5 such tiny things could keep 3 full-grown men so busy, but they could, and they did. There was never a dull moment, neither was there a day without its lesson for us. I suppose the most startling discovery a student of nature makes is that there are never 2 things created alike. In all this great world about us, and all the universe which has no limit, no 2 things are alike. Not even 2 grains of sand are exactly the same. Not 2 blades of grass, not 2 trees, not 2 animals, and above all, not 2 human beings. We began to see this demonstrated anew in our young animal friends. Rack and Rune were similar, but they were not the same. Even as babies we could see differences in their behavior, and so were Inky, Sausage, and Bobette, strictly individual. Nothing just like them had ever lived before, nothing ever would again. It was interesting to see how this individuality asserted itself. Certainly, from the first, our little charges wanted to be just themselves and nothing else. They insisted upon it. Even if we wanted to change them, we couldn't have done so. They didn't cry alike. They didn't eat alike. They didn't bite alike. Although let's be understood, they did plenty of all those things. Each had a mind of his own, instincts of his own, a way of his own. Moreover, each wanted his own way. As we studied them, we came to realize how much trouble we human beings would save ourselves if we would learn this one lesson those simple little tykes knew instinctively. For we may know that each one of us is new in nature, his talents are new, his energies new, his opportunities new, and furthermore, that the full measure of his power is found only in using his individuality in serving to the world. Some may think it's good to be true. It's too good to be true, yet it is true, for we see here the proved pattern of creation. Certainly, under this knowledge, no one ever could have an inferiority complex. Inky never felt inferior. He stepped right out into the world to use the talents the Creator had given him. Inky didn't wonder if some other porcupine were more talented than he. He didn't think of it that at all. He just lived his best. Whether he even thought of it that way or not, he knew instinctively that he was individually equal to any problem and was master of his own destiny. Nor could a human being ever question his own importance, that there was a place for him in the world, that he could succeed and be happy, so long as he himself realized that he was distinctly original and that his whole life was within himself. He would just live his best, as Inky does, and his best would be good enough. Now, what we are saying does not imply that each animal is a new species. Inky is a porcupine. There are millions of porcupines, yet there is only one Inky. Rack and Rune are raccoons. Sausage is a woodchuck. Bobette a deer. They have the ways and appearances of their fellow creatures, live in like manner, but they are not identical. Thus we study living things, plants, animals, or human beings, and we find in each one characteristics in which it resembles its kind, but also character, which makes it original and individual. Porcupines sometimes seem to be a joke nature has played. Those remarkable quills of theirs, they offer a strange method of defense. Porkies say to the world, "We don't want to hurt anyone, but you had better let us alone." They are born with quills, the baby's spines being about the size of needles and just as sharp. Also, as porcupines grow older, the quills become coarser and more numerous. At one time, the story was widely believed that a porcupine shoots or throws his quills at his enemies. That has been proven untrue. I told this story to Inky, and he walked away in high disgust. But no animal had better protection from the common dangers of the woods than the porcupine. It is often said that the spines are barbed like fish hooks, but that description does not begin to tell the story. It isn't just one barb, but 1,000 or more on a single quill, and so arranged that after the quill has entered the flesh, these barbs keep the quills from being easily withdrawn. We never felt worried about Inky when he began wandering about the forest. Most animals know enough to let porcupines alone, and those who don't have a severe lesson to learn. Those quills are fierce weapons, and there are plenty of them, too. It is estimated by good authorities that a large-sized porcupine will have as many as 36,000 quills, covering every bit of its body, except the legs, underparts, and regions of its nose. What a pincushion! No wonder Inky has inherited such provoking independence. He and his kind have perfect confidence in their defense. They have never bothered to develop an ability to move fast, be clever, to hide well, or depend on biting in combat. Yet they have fine teeth. When Inky first came to us, he already had 4 front teeth, 2 upper and 2 lower, amber in color and sharp as razors. It was necessary to feed him through the side of his mouth, as his teeth would cut the rubber nipples as fast as they were presented to him. We had much experience with those teeth. They are designed for taking the bark from trees, so Inky sometimes took the bark off us, too. A porcupine does not eat meat, yet he never really lacks food. In summertime, green plants and green leaves make up much of his diet. In the winter, bark, winter buds, and twigs interest him most. He is especially fond of salt, a fact which makes him rather unpopular with farmers and woodsmen when he chews the sweat-soaked handles of their axes, pitchforks, etc. The severe northern winters hold no terror for porcupines. Although they do not hibernate, they seem to be immune to the cold. On days when the temperature would be many degrees below zero, porcupines have been observed far out on the ends of the limbs, not even seeking shelter. They are good-humored creatures and are quite playful. Yes, Inky has a good ancestry. His people did not come over on the Mayflower, but they got into history many times just the same. The earliest records of pioneers showed that porcupines attracted their attention, and whenever explorers went from Central America almost to the Arctic Circle, porcupines were there to greet them. Raccoon come from interesting lineage, too. Raccoons like southern climate best, though they refuse to be limited and have been found as far north as the Hudson Bay region. They are closely related to bears and possibly proud of the fact, for the bear is king of the woods. Raccoons certainly could tear up a room in bear fashion and proved this on several occasions. The little gray faces of raccoons, for seemingly no reason at all, have a single black stripe across their eyes. They look like masked bandits, and they sometimes act like them, too. It may be that they had one stripe left over from those that ring their tails, and didn't know where else to put it. A hollow tree is the raccoon's favorite home. It didn't take Rack and Ruin long to find one for themselves as soon as they had outgrown their babyhood, though we had been searching ever since and have not located their apartment. No creature ever had fitted more perfectly into the solitude of nature than has the raccoon. They make no more noise than moonbeams, Bobby once said. The raccoon's little feet are super sensitive. These animals literally feel their way about at night. If they had one dominant characteristic, it is curiosity. They run their little feet over every corner and crack, examining through sense of touch the things they find. Bobby was the victim of this curiosity one night during his sleep. He was sleeping with his mouth open and snoring. Rune probably couldn't understand what was causing all the racket, for Bobby was awakened rather abruptly to find a raccoon foot in his mouth, reaching for his tonsils. Here's a picture of it. Ooh, let's see if we can get it. There. Can see Bobby sleeping. Sometimes these little curiosity habits of raccoons is used to their detriment. Trappers place steel traps in hollow logs or hollow trees, under brush, or in holes in the ground. The unsuspecting raccoon comes feeling his way along, reaches innocently into the hidden trap, and finds himself suddenly in the painful grasp of a merciless steel jaws. Raccoons are very happy and sociable creatures. Snooty old Inky and his kind live pretty much to themselves and are generally seen singly. Not so with raccoons. One night there were 19 of them on our porch at one time. It is certainly no problem to know what to feed raccoons. Their interest is more in volume than variety. They have preferences, but will eat almost anything, and lots of it. Frogs, fish, flesh, fowl, insects, reptiles, corn, fruit, grain, vegetables, and unfortunately, farmers' chickens are on their menu. Sweets of any sort are in high favor. Rack and Rune preferred cooked oatmeal sweetened with honey to all other food. Sausage and her kind do not rate so highly with the human race. They have a habit of eating the food we raise for ourselves, and that is a serious offense. At least people think it is. Judge Norton had a peculiar grudge against little Sausage. Although he tried to conceal the fact, we learned that he fancied he did not like woodchucks. During his boyhood in Indiana, those little rodents had battled with him for the possession of his garden. "Those vermin are just pests," said the judge, and he pretended a much greater hatred for them than he really felt. One day when Sausage was partially grown, Bobby beckoned to me to come to him. He pointed to the judge, sitting on a log holding Sausage in his arms and talking baby talk to her. I guess she had been forgiven for what her ancestors had done. One could love the woodchuck for its courage, even if nothing else. While shy when human beings are around, woodchucks seem to have no fear of other creatures. They will fight animals many times their size. I have seen one attack a police dog. They are fast-moving, powerful, and have marvelously strong jaws and sharp teeth. Their favorite dwelling place is a hole in the ground which they dig for themselves, though space under a building is all right too. They are hibernators and work harder at it than any other creature in the north. As early as October, they enter their peculiar sleep. It is their way of going south for the winter. They do not arouse from their stupor until warm weather has returned in the spring. During that long period, they do not awaken even to eat. Sausage was so fat she could roll faster than she could walk when it came time for winter sleep. That fat would be used up by her body as food during the months to come. Had Bobette been inclined towards pride, she would have had plenty of reasons to boast about her family. Through history, the deer family has been famous for beauty. Hunting the stag was the sport of kings, though the kings were not always such good sports. But the sight of a great old buck along the shore of a wilderness lake probably will always remain the most appealing scene in nature. Here's a picture. Only the male deer have antlers, and he seems quite proud of them. At least he is always trying to improve them. He grows a new pair every year, shedding the old ones, and they become larger and more beautiful each season. The story that one can tell the age of a buck by the number of points on his antlers is untrue, however. For the first 2 years, only this is possible. The first year, the buck grows finger-like horns, and they are called spike horns. The next year, the antlers will have points on them, or fork horns. But after that, it is uncertain how many points will develop. Bobette wore a red-brown coat speckled with light-colored spots when she came to us. That is what the best-dressed fawns wear. The spots generally disappear in the autumn, though we have known of little fellows retaining them through to the next spring. The winter coat is dark gray, blending nicely with winter landscapes. But that baby coat of theirs is a masterpiece of protective coloration. In baby days, especially during the first week of life, the fawn spends most of its time curled up on the forest floor. That permits the mother to forage for food, since a fawn in this position is almost impossible to see. There is reason to believe, too, that at that age fawns have no odor that dogs or wolves can detect. Woodsmen have seen these predatory animals pass within a few feet of fawn and never know of their presence. Apparently, at that age, the entire safety of the little fellow is entrusted to their protective coloration and absence of odor. Fawns have no strength or tendency to run. Foresters often find them in quiet, hidden spots and walk right up to them. Still, they will not move. Unfortunately, sometimes those finding fawns in this way believe that they have been deserted by their mothers and take them in. That should not be done unless it is known for sure that something has happened to the mother, for otherwise she will return. It is best by far for both doe and fawn that they be left together. While we reared Bobette successfully, we always realized she would have been better off with her mother had her mother been spared her. The main defense of deer is in flight. No one knows just how fast they can run, but we have timed them on a roadway at 35 miles an hour. When Bobette took a notion to it, she could disappear so quickly it would seem the ground had swallowed her up. But deer will fight when cornered and fight very effectively. They strike forward with their front feet. In that way, they have been known to kill wolves and other creatures attacking them. However, there are many creatures in the forest more powerful and more clever than they, and their life is a severe one. Their food is plant life generally, although there are very definitive records of certain ones eating fish. Deer love the company of their own kind. While Inky was satisfied to climb a tree by himself and make no effort to find other porcupines, Bobette was more socially inclined. Very soon she had made friends among her wild relatives of the forest. They would come to see her within sight of our cabin, but no closer. Some way she knew when they were out there and would go to get them, be with them a while, but then return home. There is that individuality again. She was one of them, yet still an individual, still herself. Inky sat before the fireplace one night looking most wise and self-reliant. At the time he was still less than 4 months old, yet he had full possession of his selfhood. He was the very picture of individuality and unoffending independence. I laughed aloud as a fanciful thought came to me. Inky should be a lecturer, helping the human race, where faith is needed so badly. How grand if he could speak before schools, giving young people renewed confidences in themselves. Another picture. He's got glasses on and is teaching. In imagination, I pictured him on the platform in a great auditorium. Of course, he would wear important appearing eyeglasses, and as certainly he would look over the top of them at his audience. He would stand there in perfect composure until everyone quieted down, and then began as if he had all eternity for his talk. "Young folks," he would say, "what I have to say, I can say in mighty few words. But I'm going to tell you something some folks are afraid to tell you, just because it isn't the style to say such things. But I don't care about style, and I'm not afraid of anybody." And with this he would probably raise his quills until he looked like a prickly pear and glared defiantly over his glasses to see if anyone challenged him. "You fellows are trying to live unnaturally, and that's not natural. I mean, it isn't possible. You're just kidding yourselves. You're forgetting how to be yourselves and are always trying to be someone else. Now the Creator had just one plan for everything he made. The same one made you as made us porcupines. He did a little better on us than he did on you, but that doesn't make any difference. His plan was to make everyone different so they wouldn't get in each other's way. Then he wanted each one to be complete, original, so he gave each one some special ability, some talent. He says then, go on and be yourselves, all of you. Have faith in what makes you different from the rest, for that is you. Don't go reaching for what someone else has or trying to be like him. I'm giving each one of you a job to do, a place to fill, and if you just be yourselves, you'll know what it is. But what have you folks been a-doing?" Here, no doubt, Inky would fold his paws behind his back and pace back and forth while he thought it out. "Let me tell you, you've been living according to styles and plans someone thinks up, everyone trying to be like the style, and you haven't been natural. Suppose us porcupines would get together and decide we should all be alike, and then go goose-stepping around thinking we were smart. Who would do our work in the woods? Life isn't built that way, folks. You have to be yourselves. The Creator knew what he was doing, and he doesn't make mistakes. Not one of you is a mistake. When you get home tonight, sit down in some quiet place and just ask yourself, what can I do better than anything else? And when you answer that honestly, make up your mind to do it. Nobody else can do it as well as you. And for the love of a salt lick, don't do something else just to be like somebody you're jealous of. Be yourself. Every animal in the woods knows that much. Be yourself. That's the way to live, and it's the only way." That's a pretty long speech for Inky, but I'll wager before he left the platform he would say, "And sometimes chew the bark off a pine tree. It'll do you good." Well, Inky can go out and give lectures, Inky can't go out and give lectures. But if he could, what he would say would be true, for he would speak out of his own naturalness. Happiness in this world does lie in following nature's patterns. That is, for each one to be the finest and purest individual he can be. Judge Norton expressed it well one night with another verse of his song. "When nature makes each one of us, she throws away the mold. She never made two things alike, at least so I've been told. So don't be like some other guy. It can't be done, you see. Just try the very best you can to be the one you be." We'll see you tomorrow for the next chapter.